Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. In the name of Allah, the most beneficent and the most merciful. Assalamu alaikum students. Once again, welcome to Pakistan International School Taif Virtual Learning System. Student, this is your fourth lecture, chapter 9, Geography of Pakistan. I'm your teacher, Mrs. Asima. This chapter name is Resource and Natural Resources. We discussed in the previous lectures natural resources and the types of natural resources. We discussed water resources, land resources, mineral oil or petroleum, natural gas, and the previous lecture um, we discussed iron ore, chromite, rock salt, gypsum, limestone, marble, china clay, antimony, and lead, radioactive mineral, fire clay. Today our topic is energy resources. Page number 85, and today we will discuss energy resources. An energy resource is something that can produce heat, power life, move objects, or produce electricity. Matter that store energy is called a fuel. Human energy consumption has grown steadily throughout human history. Early humans had modest energy requirement, mostly food and fuel for fires to cook and keep warm. Primary energy resources take many forms, including nuclear energy, fossil energy like oil, coal, and natural gas, and renewable sources like wind, solar, geothermal, and hydro power. This is a common definition of energy resources. What are energy resources? How you will explain what are energy resources? Energy resources are ways to obtain energy from where we get energy. Anything that can produce heat, power life, move objects, or produce electricity is an energy resource. Here are some examples given of energy resources: solar energy, wind energy, tidal energy, geothermal energy, and fossil fuels. These are the examples of energy resources. Sources of energy. Two sources of energy in your book also given. First of all, conventional sources, non-conventional sources. Conventional sources are divided two groups, commercial or non-commercial, and these are in commercial sources coal, petroleum, electricity, and non-commercial firewood, straw, and dried dung. Non-conventional sources: bioenergy, solar energy, wind energy, tidal energy, and energy from urban waste. These are the two sources of energy. Non-conventional energy sources. The energy sources which are renewable or unexhaustible called non-conventional energy source. These are pollution-free and eco-friendly. Conventional source or non-conventional source, the difference between these are the two sources of energy I told you: conventional, non-conventional. Conventional source of energy refer to traditional source, mean old method of producing energy, traditional old method, old sources of power like charcoal, firewood, coal, petroleum, etc. Non-conventional sources of energy are recently developed sources of energy from sun, wind, water, tides, geothermal, etc. These energy resources are developed sources of energy. Modern sources of energy. Number two, these sources of energy are not renewable. These are conventional sources. Non-conventional sources, these are renewable. Generation of energy is expensive, and here non-conventional, it is initial cost of generation is high but cheaper in the long run. They cause large scale pollution. Conventional sources, they cause large scale of pollution. I told you this was the old method of energy, and traditional method, traditional source. Here non-conventional sources, they are eco-friendly source of energy. Eco-friendly means earth-friendly or not harmful to the environment. And it mostly common refer to product that contribute to green living or practice that help conserve resources like water and energy. Simply it means not harmful to the environment, this source. Now from your book. First of all, I explain simple term, the simple meaning of energy sources, then the two sources of energy, conventional and non-conventional. Now from your book, energy resources. In the modern world, the role of electricity in the development of the country is vital. Of course, all of you know that any country, the role of electricity in the development or the progress of the country, that is very important or main or vital. And what it is needed for the growth of the agricultural and industrial production and other essential requirements such as lighting, transportation, food processing, heating and cooling. Industrialized country have very high per capita consumption of energy, whereas less developed nations consume proportionally less energy. The energy consumption and the economic growth rate are closely related with each other. Let us therefore review the sources of Pakistan power generation. The generation of power mainly comes from the following sources. I told you at the start of the lecture, two sources, conventional sources, non-conventional sources. Conventional sources, hydel, thermal, coal, oil, nuclear. Non-conventional sources, solar, tidal, wind and biogas. In Pakistan, there is hardly any generation from non-conventional sources. Let us discuss what we are receiving through conventional sources. We are still having the uh, traditional source of energy. Now we will discuss the next topic, hydel power. Pakistan main hydel projects. What is hydel or hydroelectric power? Uses the energy in falling water converted into electricity without using up the water. It considered a renewable energy source. A renewable energy source is one of that is not depleted, used up in the production of energy. This is the definition or explanation of what is hydroelectric power or the hydel power. Now then we will discuss the Mangla Dam, some recent pictures of Mangla Dam. Then we will discuss Tarbela Dam project, Watsik Dam. Now here the hydel power. I told you what is the hydel power. Now in your book, at present Pakistan has an installed hydel power capability of 4,825 megawatt in 1995 to 96. This was the capability of in 1995 to 96. Underline this line, it can be asked in MCQs. The total hydel potential is however estimated at 30,000 megawatt, which 20,000 megawatt is economically feasible possible. Efforts are being made that the hydel capability be increased to 10,000 megawatts by the turn of the century. Still, Pakistan is trying its best to increase the production or to 10,000 megawatt by the turn of the century. The difficulty with having additional hydel capability is twofold. Two types of problem we are facing. First, it takes long time to make a hydel power station. Normally the gestatic period for a big hydel station is between 8 to 10 years. The second problem or second difficulty which Pakistan is facing, particularly in Pakistan, is that it has uneven generation pattern during various period of the year. What are the uneven generation? Is the result of the flow in the rivers and into the reservoirs like Tarbela and Mangla. It is based our hydel power or it based for which on rainfall and melting of snow and glacier. Further, the releases from these reservoirs are mostly used to meet the irrigation requirement, as the two big reservoirs were primarily built for irrigation purpose, and power output is in fact a byproduct. The hydel generation being the cheapest source of energy. At the start, we discussed that this is the cheapest source of energy. Efforts are being made to optimize it. For this purpose, Tarbela's capacity is planned to be increased and to nearly 4,000 megawatt, and the proposed Kalabagh Dam will have a capacity of 3,000 megawatt. Hydel power station are also in the preliminary stages at Kohala on the Jhelum River and Bhasha on the Indus upstream of Tarbela. To maximize the advantage of the falls in the canal, many small hydel stations are also being planned, and it is expected that additional hydel capacity of 300 megawatt would be feasible. Our country is also trying to increase it, and many new and small hydel stations are also being planned, and what is expected that hydel capacity will be increased 300 megawatt. Pakistan main hydroelectric projects. Pakistan's main hydroelectric projects. How many projects? The 5 main projects. The Malakand, number 2, the Rasool Hydroelectric Project, number 3, the Warsik Dam Project, number 4, the Mangla Dam Project, and number 5, the Tarbela Dam Project. The Malakand Dargai Hydroelectric Project. The Malakand Hydroelectric Project is the oldest in Pakistan, having been completed in 1938. Underline this date, it can be asked in MCQs. When the Malakand Hydroelectric Project was completed in 1938, and power is generated from a fall in the upper Swat Canal, and the power station is at Jaban. It has installed capacity of 20 megawatt. Water is taken back into the upper Swat and canal to feed the powerhouse at Dargai. Dargai also has an installed capacity of 20 megawatt. Number 2, the main hydroelectric project is the Rasool Hydroelectric Project. It can be asked in short question like this: name Pakistan's main hydroelectric project. You will just write the names of these 5 projects. You will not explain this in short question. The Rasool Hydroelectric Project, it utilizes a fall of 25 to 26 meters between the upper and the lower Jhelum Canal near Rasool, and a powerhouse has been built. The installed generation capacity of this power station is 22 megawatt. Warsik Dam, where it is on the Kabul River, is a multi-purpose project on the Kabul River and 32 kilometer northwest of Peshawar. This dam has installed generation capacity of 240 megawatt. The powerhouse is at Warsik on the river and is fed by a 218 meters long power channel. Electricity is being used for which purpose? Lighting, mining and industry. The dam is about 230-meter long and 70 meters high, creating a lake of about 42 kilometer long and an average width of 305 meters, loading about 20,000 acre feet of water. The project was commissioned in 1960 and it was completed with the help of Canada. Mangla Dam Project. Mangla Dam Project This is a multi-purpose project on River Jhelum. What is dam? What is the purpose of a dam? The purpose of a dam is to store water and wastewater or liquid borne material for any of the several reasons such as flood control, human water supply, irrigation, livestock water supply, energy generation. These are all the purpose why dams are constructed, or what is the purpose to construct the dam. Though mainly irrigational, and its installed generation capacity of power is 1000 megawatt, the water from the powerhouse is delivered into the Upper Jhelum Canal for irrigation purpose. The dam has a crest length of about 3,355 meter and a maximum height of 110 meter. The reservoirs created by the dam is 40 miles, 64 kilometer with a gross storage capacity of 5.55 million acre feet. It is one of the largest earth-filled dam in the world. It can be in MCQs. Which is the largest earth-filled dam in the world? That is Mangla Dam. Mangla Dam, also the Mangla Lake is also a fishing center and a health and tourist place for tourism. It was when it was commissioned in 1967. You can see now in next page a map, and in previous lectures many times we have discussed the map. This map is electric power resources and transmission line it shows, and here are the symbols for hydel electric power station. You can see thermal power station, nuclear power station, and transmission lines. These are the four symbols which shows these stations, or where these are, in which areas. Hydel electric power station, this symbol you can find where is Hydel electric power stations have been installed. Then thermal power station, nuclear power station, and transmission lines. Now the Tarbela Dam on the Indus is the largest earth-filled structure in the world. It is one of the world's greatest water resources developed main project built on one of the world's largest river, located about 40 miles northwest of Islamabad. The work of the dam on the dam was started in 1968. Underline these lines. When the Mangla Dam project was started, it was started in 1968 under the Indus Basin Treaty with India. Now you are in 10th class, and you have read about the Indus Water Treaty which was done between India and Pakistan in 1960. And when this dam was completed, it was completed in 1976 at the cost of rupees 18 billion. The project consists of a dam 9,000 feet, 305 meters long above the riverbed, with two spillways cutting through the left bank. A group of 4 tunnels, each half a mile, 800 meters long, has been constructed for irrigation releases and power generation. The reservoirs is 60 miles, 96.5 kilometer long and 100 square miles in area, and has a gross storage capacity of 11.6 MAF, means million acre feet, or with a live storage capacity of 9.7 million acre feet, or 14.307 million cubic meters. The installed generation capacity of the power station during 1995 to 96 was 3,478 megawatt. Other canal fall projects, one is the Chicoki Melan's power station is located on the Upper Chenab. Where is the Chichoki Mailan power? It is on the Upper Chenab Canal, about 48 kilometers from Lahore. And Nadipur power station on the Upper Chenab Canal, about 11 kilometers northwest of Gujranwala. While the Kuram and Gadi station are on the irrigation canals taken out from the Kuram River One canal fall project is working at Rinala, fourth on the canal taken out from the Ravi at Baloki headworks. The Shadiwal power station is located on the upper Jhelum canal near Gujarat. At present, the total installed generation capacity of all canal fall project is 107 megawatt thermal power project. Beside nuclear, the thermal power can generated by gas, oil and coal. This we started at the start, I told you, the traditional source. The oil production in the country accounts for only 10% of the demand of oil. Also, I told you in the start of the lecture, previous lecture, that Pakistan is a not good producer of oil. We don't have the oil in our country, and we are importing oil from the other countries, and we are expending huge money for this purpose, while 90% of the oil is imported. The natural gas which is available in limited quantity is not ideally suited to be burned for the generation of electricity, although currently a lot of generation is based on gas in the country and coal. Coal is the basis of thermal generation in a large number of countries, but unfortunately, exploration of coal reserve in Pakistan did not receive educate attention. And also the coal which we have in our country is not good quality and quantity, and one small power station only in Koita it is using or used for the local coal for power generation. The total installed capacity of Hydel power station is 11,113 megawatt, while that of thermal station is 2,117 megawatt. Karachi is the center of thermal power, having the largest plant. It is under the control of Karachi Electric Supply Company. We have only one largest plant of thermal power, and that is in Karachi. And the emphasis has therefore been placed on hydel generation, the largest thermal plant has been established in Piran Gai, Multan. In the northern zone, its installed capacity in 260 megawatt. Other places in the country where thermal plants have been established at Faisalabad, 244 megawatt, Guddu 1015 megawatt, Jamshoro 800 megawatt, Muzaffargarh 1050 megawatt, Sakhar 50 megawatt, and Koita 15 megawatt. Gas power station other than Piran Ghaib are located at Faisalabad, 244 megawatt, to 1015 megawatt, Kotri 174 megawatt, and Koita 68 megawatt is producing. Diesel power station are located at Gilgit 3 megawatt, Kot Addu 1488 megawatt, Pasni 17 megawatt, and Chadra 85 megawatt is producing. Nuclear power. Now at present, Karachi nuclear power project at Karachi is the only nuclear source producing 25% of the installed capacity. KNAP means Karachi Nuclear Power Plant. This is the abbreviation KNAP. It means Karachi Nuclear Power Plant has already generated over 5 billion kilowatt hours of electricity, and despite embargoes and restraint on the supply of spare parts and nuclear material. Another atomic power station is expected to be set up at Chashma Barrage on the Indus district, Miawali. Non-conventional energy. At the start of the lesson, I told you, I defined the non-conventional energy. Which are the non-conventional energy? Pakistan is rich in natural gas since it constitutes an important raw material in fertilizer production. It should be judiciously used as a source of energy. There are limited reserves of oil, coal in our country. In such a situation, we shall tap non-traditional sources. Biogas is a village technology developed to cater the needs of rural families. The raw material for biogas is the animal waste. Pakistan, being an agricultural country, can meet nearly 50% of the fuel needs in rural areas by developing this source. You know, Pakistan is underdeveloping country. We don't have like all these modern technology experts or scientists or properly trained people. So we are using traditional source, or in the raw material for biogas is the animal waste. Pakistan being agricultural country, and most of the people in the villages, 50% of the fuel need in rural areas by developing this source. Second, solar energy is clean, abundant, and convertible into mechanical and electric power efficiently. This source has unlimited potential in many fields of production. Pakistan has plenty of sunshine and many clear days during the year. Another easiest or cheap source of energy is wind. Windmills can be used to generate electricity on a small scale in coastal area. In order to fight power shortage, it is imperative that we should concentrate on non-traditional sources. These are the non-conventional energy sources: solar energy, wind energy. These are all the kinds of non-conventional energy. Human resources. At the start of the chapter, we discuss resources. Then I told you the two kinds of resources: human resources and man-made resources. Human resources or man-made resources, when humans use natural things to make something new that provides utility and value to our lives, it is called human or man-made resources. And economic development of a country depend upon effective utilization of material and human resources. Of course, this is like, if the country is blessed with the natural resources, what is the main point or the main thing, that how to use these natural resources in a positive way. So the natural resources cannot be exploited efficiently without the efforts of human resources. People are consumer as well as producer, and their standard of living bear close relationship to the member of population sharing the national income. If the majority of population, and how these natural resources can be used properly by human, if the majority of people of the country is educated, aware, technically trained, and has a zeal to work hard, the production level of a country can be boosted up. What is the solution of all these problems? How we can use the natural resources properly? Uh, we can use if the majority of population is educated, well trained, and technically trained, and has the power to work hard, then the production level of the country can be increased or enhanced. We need scientists, engineer, and expert to exploit the natural resources for the economic progress of a country. The present reserves of Pakistan are limited. Although Pakistan is an agricultural country, yet it has to import large quantities of wheat to fulfill its requirement. One more thing, you know that Pakistan is basically an agricultural country, but again Pakistan is importing wheat to fulfill its requirement. If we wanted to improve our agriculture sector, we have to pay attention, we have to improve, we have to progress, we need to develop our industrial sector, because the agriculture sector based on the industrial sector. This is the main problem which we are facing in our country. Our country is an agricultural country, but we are not focusing, we are not properly developed, or we are not paying attention to the industrial sector. If we used the proper things to improve or to enhance agriculture sector, we have to pay attention to our industrial sector. The size of the population of the country in relation to natural resources is of great importance. If manpower is short for effective use of material resources of the economic, output will output will fall, short of the requirements, but in Pakistan the case is opposite, and present its population is more than 130 million, but the means of production are not expanding at the same rate, and hence the country is facing the problems of overpopulation. Again we are facing a problem here of overpopulation. The population of Pakistan is increasing day by day, and the means of production are not expanding at the same rate, and again hence the country is facing the problems of overpopulation. The rate of the economic growth of the country has to be accelerated. Technical education as well as professional training should be expanded, and modern techniques should be introduced in the fields of industry and agriculture to boost up the economy of the country. How we can enhance, how we can increase our economy of the country? um, with the help of the technical education, professional training should be expanded, and modern technique. Conservation of resources. Some natural resources are either being exhausted or are limited supply. The conservation of these is essential. Pakistan is the process of developing a national conservation strategy (NCS) specifically. This involves conservations or on priority requirements such as tackling desertification, deforestation, the loss of agricultural land, and pollution. These are the problems which we are facing in agricultural sector. Desertification, deforestation, the loss of agricultural land, and pollution. The following steps are suggested for the conservation of the natural resources. Now, forests. Tree plantation in our national is our national duty to help the forest department grow more trees. In the opinion of expert, it gives more income than the expenditure on it, and also create healthy environment. Management of forest should be done on scientific line. Reckless deforestation should be discouraged. At the start of the chapter, we have discussed all these things relating to the forests. Now, minerals. Minerals should not be wastefully used. Substitute of minerals should be used where possible. Proper use of water should be made by the cultivators of crops for irrigation purpose. Seepage and evaporation of water may be controlled by lining the canals and reservoirs. The flow of the river water into the sea should be minimized, as a large volume of water falls into the sea uselessly. Maximum quantity of the underground water should be made available for industrial and domestic use. Children, students, we have discussed the mineral and forest at the start of the chapter in detail, and the exercise we will discuss in the next lecture. What is today your homework? You will write 20 MCQs from this chapter in your notebook, and also 10 short question answers write in your notebook. Thank you.